Hello, Sarah Beard here from Dyslexia Solutions Online and SJB Assessments. A question we often get asked is what's the difference between a report by an educational psychologist and a dyslexia report by a dyslexia specialist assessor. And sometimes there is very little difference. When it comes to the educational psychologist, very often they write shorter reports because they may well be commissioned by the school, therefore they're looking at the child's needs, not necessarily a diagnosis. And when it comes to private educational psychologists like dyslexia assessors, there are those that are better than others. When it comes to a dyslexia specialist assessor's report, we have incredibly strict guidance, which I think is very different to the educational psychologist. We are told how to lay our report out, what to include. Every year we get an updated list of tests, and if the tests are old, they're taken off that list and new tests are put on. We're told how we should lay it out, and we have the criteria that we have to map to, which is what's called the Delphi definition of dyslexia, which came out in 2025. Previous, we used to map to something called the Rose definition, but that's now over 15 years old. So we've had an updated definition. And I think I've spoken in a previous video about what the Delphi definition entails as well, and I will do another one shortly. A dyslexia assessor's report will be around 25 to 30 pages long, following this set criteria. There's some flexibility within it, and it will have lots of recommendations both for the school and for home. But bear in mind, they are recommendations, they're not set in law, so the school don't have to follow them, but most schools will do what they can, but obviously budgets limit sometimes what they can do. Another question we're asked is, what is an APC, or a practicing certificate? Now, when dyslexia assessors do a qualification to become a dyslexia assessor, they qualify with a qualification in assessing dyslexia. Surprise, surprise. And that does qualify them to assess dyslexia. But what that means is, for some, they choose to just leave it at that. For others, and most of us, we carry on to get something that's called a practicing certificate. So once we qualify, we apply for this practicing certificate, and then every 3 years we have to send in a report, and we have to send in a log of our continuing professional development, and then it's either approved or it's not. If it fails, you try again for that, and it keeps standards high. Now, I don't believe educational psychologists have to do anything like that. Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. So if you're looking for an assessment with longevity, so if you're looking for an assessment which will last through the lifespan, in terms of the diagnosis, obviously the individual's needs and levels change, but in terms of the diagnosis, which can be used for the student to claim DSA, Disabled Students Allowance at university. Don't get confused with DLA, Disability Living Allowance. That's something totally different. Dyslexia doesn't usually qualify you for that. DSA, Disabled Students Allowance, then you've got to have an assessor who has a practicing certificate, because it won't be accepted for DSA. So it's good practice to find one with an APC, but that doesn't actually mean that if you are getting an assessor without an APC, it doesn't mean they don't keep up to date. There may be many reasons why they haven't applied for their APC or kept it up to date as well, because it is a very expensive process. So myself, I have an APC. I've had it ever since it came out, which I think I must have done about 6 renewals now, so around 21 years of assessing with a practicing certificate. Don't quote me on that, I can't quite remember. And so does my colleague who I subcontract to. We're based in the Orpington, I'm based in the Orpington area, London Borough of Bromley, and my colleague is based in Croydon, which is Surrey. However, I also do assessments online remotely, and I have the remote tools to do that. So if you're not close to us, and you would like assessment with us, then please do get in touch and we can set up a remote assessment. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.